This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. It is not intended to cause or induce breach of an existing agency agreement.
Hello? 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 This is the Vancouver
Commercial
Real Estate Podcast.
And welcome back to the Vancouver Commercial Real Estate Podcast. I'm Cory Wright.
And I'm Adam Scalina. And how you doing, Cory?
I'm great.
Good.
Great. I haven't seen you since the photo shoot last week.
We did a big photo shoot.
Yeah.
There's some good ones of you.
I don't know if I say of me. Great ones of you, though.
You know what? We had 3 sites. This is Matt and I were joking about this.
I heard.
We said, Cory, can you come to the photo shoot? We got these 3 sites. Here's the time. You said I can come to 1, not 3.
And I'll clarify for the listeners that I wasn't, not that I didn't have the time of day. I was thinking, okay, I got 1 hour here, so I can either meet you over here and I'll do things earlier, or I can meet you earlier and I'll do those things later. So it wasn't a matter that I didn't want to hang out with you guys.
Right.
I just I had a block there I could put. So I'm kind of like, you tell me where you want me and I'll make it work.
My favorite part about it, though, was Matt and I showed up in basically T-shirts and jeans, and you rolled in like a 3-piece suit. So the photos they're great, but they're a little jarring, and it's clear who's in the higher income bracket.
Well, I don't know if I'd say that. I knew you guys would show up kind of like Kitsilano beach bums. So I thought I have to kind of like the Spice Girl approach, right? There's a whole bunch of Spice Girls. They all got like a different thing. So I was going to be Business Spice that day.
Yeah, Matt and I are garbage Spice. So this is the way it works. But we got a fantastic show today. I'm super excited. We've known this guy for a very long time, and happy to have him in our network. Jordan MacDonald is on the program.
Yep.
And he is the founder and CEO of Fabric, major development company in the city that's kind of carving out a niche in East Vancouver and elsewhere. But really, really fantastic conversation with Jordan today.
Yeah, great. And we have him on the phone today. Last time we had him on, way back when he was here in person. And I think, don't want to say this for sure, but when we had him here in person last time, for the listeners that obviously didn't see him, he shows up in a white T-shirt. He's got some kind of casual jeans on. The guy looks like the sculpture of David, under the shirt.
Right.
Since that episode, and not that you had any weight to lose.
Right.
You, my friend, got in really, really good shape. So can we say that maybe Jordan MacDonald was the inspiration that
I think
got
he
you
was
in
for Matt.
45? Yeah.
And I'm just so competitive with Matt that I've been trying to keep up.
If that wasn't the inspiration, I called Matt Gumby that episode. So it could have been one or the other.
You know what? That was about a year. So just to kind of timestamp that was, when was that? That was episode 24?
14.
14.
And we're now on 70. So that was a year and 4 weeks ago.
Can you believe that?
No.
It's a year flies by. I feel like he was just on. So it's fantastic to have him on. I always have so many takeaways whenever I talk to Jordan, but again, this is no difference. If you're into real estate, if you're excited about the city of Vancouver and you want to get a general sense of what's happening for home builders right now, this is a fantastic episode. We talk about interest rates, we talk about fees associated with developing, we talk about building costs and skyrocketing. We talk about the municipal election. We talk about kind of where the market's going. And then we talk about acquisitions right now and what he's looking for and how he's pivoting and how he's trying to push forward. And it's inspirational and it's a great conversation.
Yeah, everyone thinks these developers just make nothing but boatloads of money and they're these big bad guys. And people don't understand. I honestly don't know how a guy like Jordan, as busy as he is acquiring and dealing with the inflation and all that stuff, how he sleeps. Like,
who has the stomach for that right now?
Yeah, there's a lot of risk in that business, and it may not be as profitable as some people think it is, although it's very profitable done right. There's a lot of ups and downs, and Jordan does a really good job kind of unpacking those challenges, how their business has pivoted, what does the future look like, and optimistic is a great word to describe it, and I echo everything Jordan says. That there's some great opportunities that are out there now. You're going to find a way to make those happen, and you're going to fast forward a year from now, and you're going to be the smartest guy in the room.
And I love this too, as is if anyone's out there with, a reno they're concerned about or a smaller project, this is going to let you sleep at night.
Yeah.
So.
If you're stressed because you can't find that faucet at Home Depot you've been looking for, you wait to the end of this episode.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, without further ado, our conversation with Jordan MacDonald, founder and CEO of Fabric.
Enjoy, guys. This week's episode is brought to you by our great friends at Impact Commercial Group.
Really enjoy working with Impact Commercial. And we should say Al and his team can basically do anything when it comes to lending.
Anything when it comes to under the commercial umbrella. You're building a building in development, we got you covered. You're buying land, we'll make that happen for you. You're investing in a property or multifamily building, check. Owner-occupiers looking to acquire their own space, double check. Anything commercial financing you need, Impact Commercial is your go-to.
ImpactCommercial.ca. And we should say, over 50 years of combined experience. So trust these guys. They're the right fit.
Best in the business, in my opinion.
Okay, so we're here with Jordan MacDonald, founder and CEO of Fabric. How you doing, Jordan?
Very good. Very good. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate you coming on. Can you maybe start by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I'm a Vancouver resident. I was born here and lived here most of my life, with the exception of a stint that I did in university out in London, Ontario. I got into the real estate business shortly after graduating university, and worked as a commercial real estate broker at Cushman and Wakefield for about 5 years. From there, I started my own commercial real estate brokerage company, similar to what Cory has done, and operated that for about 5 years. It was a company called Frontline Real Estate. And I sold that in 2015 and started up a company called Fabric that basically buys and develops land, particularly in East Vancouver, for new multifamily and purpose-built rental development.
Why real estate?
Why real estate? It's a really good question. I wish I could kind of look back to a time in my life where, I kind of just had this eureka moment, and, I was like Phil Knight from Shoe Dog, where I just, I got the bug about shoes or real estate, and I was just absolutely obsessed with it from a very young age. But that wasn't the case for me. I kind of fell into it, I guess. I remember I was home one summer from university in between semesters, and I was still living with my parents at the time, and we had a neighbor move in next door, and that neighbor had invited our family over for a barbecue, and we were chatting, and her name was Lenora Gates, and she asked me what I wanted to do with my life, and I at the time I didn't really have any direction, and she said, "Well, I think that you might be good in commercial real estate." And so she owned a small boutique commercial real estate brokerage. And she said, "I think that you should try it on. And why don't I introduce you to some of the guys at CB Richard Ellis, because she used to work there, and try out an internship." So I went and met with them. And then the next summer, when I was back in town, I ended up landing just a summer internship job with CB. And we were just banging on doors and making phone calls and updating databases and stuff. But I just really liked the energy of it. And it was more the people, I guess, that kind of really attracted me to the business after that internship. And I just loved the high energy of it. I loved that everybody was out there really working hard and trying to make it happen. And there were some good young people involved and a lot of mentorship. So I think it was really the people that got me into it. And then as my career sort of continued in that direction, I really became a little obsessed with the creative aspect of the business, and in particular in real estate development. The creation of these buildings is really an art, and you can really get passionate about that. And it's the kind of thing that you just become obsessed with. You wake up in the morning thinking about the projects that you're working on and the minutiae of them, and how you can make the experience better for people in the community, and just like what a holistic way of looking at like bettering a community. You can kind of just be passionate about that. So you're looking at the site, and what can we build here, and which businesses are going to be operating here, and who's going to be living here, and how can you optimize that, and why is that good for the community? So there's just so many pieces to it. And then bringing then the people side of it is just such an interesting thing. So I don't know. I guess that's kind of a long-winded answer, but it was really the people that drew me to it, and then just the creative side of that mixed with the people is kind of what keeps me in it.
Well, Jordan, for our listeners that don't know about Fabric, we'll dive into the huge success and growth and tremendous projects you've put together. But one thing we wanted to kind of try to unpack a little bit is obviously there's a lot of concern out there, maybe not concern, maybe uncertainty, and people trying to figure out inflation rates. Our inflation continues to sort of be a challenge for a lot of industries, and it's been no secret the development world has dealt with supply chain issues and cost issues. Interest rates aren't great. Over the past 6 months, primarily, how has your business changed, or how have you had to pivot your business because of all of these, unforeseen things, maybe a year or 2 years earlier that we didn't anticipate we'd be dealing with right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. The market has changed substantially right now, and there are a number of things that are impacting our business that are essentially outside of our control. The construction costs have gone up significantly over the past year. Interest rates have obviously gone up significantly over the past year. City fees have gone up. GBRD is adding new fees. So there's just a significant amount of cost that is being added to projects that are currently in stream and projects that you're thinking about taking on stream. So from a construction management perspective for the projects that we already have under construction, I would say it's really increased the amount of time and attention that we need to focus on our projects, because you're looking at every scope and trying to get creative and figure out how to keep a lid on construction costs. And with construction, you can mitigate the costs if you sort of sit back and just allow for every request to kind of go unchecked by trades. Your costs can get out of control, but if you're actively managing it, you can mitigate it to in some way. So I'd say that the workload on existing projects has increased substantially. Interest rates are just basically eating into your margins, which is a shame because there's absolutely nothing that you can do about that. But when it comes to looking at new acquisition opportunities, we're obviously factoring all of those costs into our underwriting. And over and above that, one of the things that is extremely topical in our business right now is there is basically no land financing available out in the market right now. So if you're trying to buy a piece of land, all of the Schedule A lenders are not there. The credit unions are not there. You're looking at going to private lenders at 10 to 12% interest rates, assuming that you're only taking on like a 50% loan to value on the land, and you're using private money to close on land. So, and that's not just for smaller developers, that's for larger developers that are second generation property developers that have been in the business for 50 years. So what we're seeing is we need to look at our acquisitions differently now. And I think that sellers are starting to become more aware of how developers need to acquire land right now. So if we're looking at an acquisition, we have to assume that we're not going to be able to close on the land within the next 6 months because the land financing market is basically closed right now. So when you look at acquisitions, you need to say, okay, how are we going to factor in all of these new costs, whether that's construction, that's interest rates, that's city fees going up? What does that do to the land value, assuming that the end sale values are the same, maybe even come down a little bit? So that all needs to be factored into your pro forma and is all influencing the land price. And then we need to basically go, okay, well, how do we bridge the gap between now and when we hope that interest rates might start to come down and we hope that there might be more financing available for land? So when we're approaching our sellers, we're saying, okay, we need conditional periods of somewhere between 6 to 12 months, and we need closing periods that are somewhat similar to that.
Jordan, I'm just thinking right now, we just got through a municipal election here in Vancouver. One of the most important issues was housing and creating housing. based on your explanation, it sounds to me like there's never been a more challenging time in recent memory to create housing as there is right now for the development community. In just thinking about how challenging it is out there, and I want to get into kind of how Fabric is pivoting and how you're making sense of it, but how do you think this plays out for supply needs in the region, and what do you think a lot of development companies are gonna do? It sounds to me like my first assumption and my guess is that a lot of these projects are going to be shelved.
So starting with the municipal election, I don't think that there could have been a better outcome for our city. I'm extremely happy that Ken Sim and the ABC team were elected. And I think that the numbers really show that this this didn't really come down to the wire. It was clear that that our city voted in favor of the ABC team, and they got their whole slate, so they're not handcuffed. So I think that they're going to be able to make some great decisions. And the thing that I like about the ABC team is they don't lean too far right and they don't lean too far left, which usually means that they're a pragmatic bunch. So, and I think that they're really looking to attack a lot of the issues that we have in the city. So that's great. We couldn't have asked for a better outcome there. And I think that if that was not the outcome, there would be a lot of developers and housing creators that would have basically just threw in the cards and said, we're not developing in Vancouver anymore. And I had a lot of conversations with some of my peers about that because it's challenging enough. And when you have a political environment where it's not supportive of housing creation, then that basically deters and disincentivizes developers from taking the risks and developing in the city of Vancouver. So that's one thing. I'm happy about that. On the other hand, the current state of the market is such that even with all of these new land use policies that have come into play, which are incentivizing new housing creation and in particular purpose-built rental housing creation, the fact that interest rates have gone up as fast as they have are really impacting the ability to build that housing because it is so interest rate sensitive. The federal government, CMHC, had provided financing incentives through the RCFI financing lines, which basically allowed for very low interest rates for purpose-built rental housing, which essentially started unlocking a lot of supply. But as those rates went up, it is really working against developers and their ability to create that housing because rental housing values are really dictated by interest rates. So if interest rates go higher, purpose-built rental housing is worth less and it's not economically viable to get it out of the ground. So if interest rates stay this high and get higher, then you can be sure that land is not going to be acquired and put into production by the majority of developers. And land that has already been acquired, developers will just sit on until there's a time in which the economic viability is there. We take a lot of risk as developers to create this housing. We put up a huge amount of our own capital and our friends, families, and associates' capital that invests alongside us to create this housing. And then we need to sign our life away on these significant loans with lenders to get loans in place to have the capital structure to actually build these major projects in the city of Vancouver. Just to buy the land to create housing, you're kind of minimum $10 million. So, and the project values or project costs are, kind of 50 million plus. So it's a huge amount of risk, it's a huge amount of work. They can take up to 5 to 6 years to actually deliver the housing. So it's a huge segment of your life to do this as well. So, there better be a bit of profit at the end because, otherwise you can just sit on the couch and eat potato chips and give your money to a wealth manager to, deliver you 5% a year. Why take on all the risk and all the work and spend a significant amount of your life trying to create the housing if there's not going to be any economic incentive to do so? we're not solely driven by the economic incentive, but it is a major factor.
Of course. Jordan, you were talking there about the challenges in the acquisition side of the business. From Fabric's standpoint, you guys have done an incredible job with your growth. You just acquired a great site out there in the Trout Lake area, and we'll talk about that. What's Fabric looking for right now? Are you on an acquisition hunt right now, knowing the current environment, or is it more of a pens down? Let's start. But before I let you answer that, I usually just show up at the studio, I double gun salute. Adam and Matt do all the research for everything. But before we had you come on, I wanted to do my research. So we had you on episode 14. This is episode 70. So that gives us 56 episodes between that, which represents 1 year and 4 weeks. And I quote, when we had Jordan on last time, he makes sure he touches base with every commercial agent once a year and the top 20% every 3 months. 1 year and 4 weeks has gone by, and I have not got a call from Jordan MacDonald. So I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that I just do management now. And I don't do any transactions.
This is that call.
But you know what? I'm gonna debate that point because I think that I did call you, and I think that's why I'm here right now on this call. So I might have to pull my phone record and highlight that, and
we're gonna give you a pass anyways, because I'm just in the management side of the business now. I'm not doing the deals anymore. I'm just signing papers at this point. So we'll give you a pass, but I just wanted to bring it up that the top 20% get a call every 3 months. Every broker who's anybody gets a call once a year. 1 year, 4 weeks, I get a call from Jordan MacDonald for a podcast.
You know what's funny about that is I may be a little late, but that is on my to-do list to start those calls again. So,
well, we'll give you a pass on that. But getting back to the question there, what's Fabric doing right now? You talked about the challenges on the financing side. You guys are still obviously out there acquiring. How are you acquiring, and what is the strategy to acquire, and what are you looking for?
For sure. So, there's a great book by a guy named Ryan Holiday. He also wrote a couple other books. One is Ego is the Enemy, and I think the other one was Stillness is the Key. But I love the term, the obstacle is the way, because it's just so true. And in this circumstance, it's also true. So the obstacle is getting land financing is next to impossible. As I'd mentioned, costs are increasing across the board, whether it's construction, it's interest rates, it's municipal fees, it's all sorts of things. There's new consultants that seem to be required on every project that we do. So I'd say the obstacle is the fact that you can't finance the acquisition of this land and your costs are increasing. So what does that mean? Well, your land prices are starting to come down a bit, is what I'm saying. And they're not directly elastic with bottom line diminishing, like they are with revenue increasing. If condo sales go up, then the land is like within a hot minute has adjusted to that new reality, and land prices go up. Whereas when condo prices go down, or revenue go down, or costs go up, the land doesn't come down to reflect that new reality immediately. It's a lot stickier on the way down, but it does come down a bit. And so we are starting to see a lot of land opportunities at pricing that we haven't seen for about 5 years. So we are really excited about that. The margins, if you're using today's numbers for revenue and cost, still don't look glowing. But if you make the assumption that in the future, interest rates are going to start to come down again once inflation has been mitigated, the margins start to look really good.
Yeah.
But the problem is that you can't close on the land today unless you're getting land financing at 10% plus, which is just a very risky endeavor. And that's even if that land financing money is going to be there, because even the private lenders are having less and less equity to deploy into land deals. They have enough like really good deals in other segments of the market to deploy their money towards. So what we're seeing is, and this isn't just me, this is the entire industry, this is the entire market. So a lot of these vendors that have their land in the market, they're going, why aren't we getting any offers? Okay, we'll come down a bit on our price. And okay, we're still not getting any offers. We'll come down a little bit more. And then once they start to get offers, all developers are basically offering with the same terms, because how are you going to close on the land unless it's cash? And basically nobody buys land with 100% cash. The land values are just too high to do that. So we are structuring our deals, and as is the entire industry right now, so that you have more time on your conditional period and you have more time on your closing period. And that's not only required because the state of the market and there is no land financing available. It's also required because, using the Broadway plan for an example. So, this is one of the largest new land use policy initiatives that's rolled out in the city of Vancouver since the West End. On September 1st, you were allowed to submit a letter of inquiry to the city if you had a site that you wanted to redevelop. And so you basically work with an architect and you put together massing studies, and you're showing what the floor plates are going to look like, what the setbacks are going to look like, et cetera. And then you submit a big package to the city, 50 plus pages. And then the city takes that, and that'll take you somewhere between 2 and 3 months to put together, 3 months to do it properly. And then once it's been submitted to the city looks at that package, and they're supposed to take about 3 to 4 months, but it's looking like 5 to 6 months right now, because on September 1st for the Broadway plan, they had 70 applications on that day. And I've heard that they're up over 100 now. So they're backlogged, and they're basically analyzing all of these packages, which of these submissions basically fit the requirements of the Broadway plan policy. And then they're going to provide a response in sort of that 5 to 6 month time. So that alone is 9 months before we as a developer will understand if we even have a site that can be developed per the policy. And when you're buying this land, you're buying it, paying a price based on a value that assumes that you can build to the density that is outlined in the plan. If the city gets back to you and says, you know what, we appreciate the submission, but the height is too high, or, the adjacencies, it doesn't make sense, or, for whatever reason, your project is not going to be supported by planning, you might have spent $100,000 on your due diligence and your submission to the city, and they'll tell you that this one's not going to work. But that could be 9 months before you even know that. So the last thing that you want to do or are able to do is have a short conditional period and remove subjects and put up large amounts of non-refundable money getting ready to close, only to find out that you bought a couple of single family homes that are worth maybe, a fraction of what they would be worth with a higher density. So there's a lot of reasons that more time is required when acquiring land right now. But like I said, the obstacle is the way. So all of those impediments to development are also creating a lot of opportunities right now, whereas the land prices are regulating to a value that starts to make a lot more sense than it did over the past couple of years. And then the terms give the developer the opportunity to figure out if the site is a reality, and it gives the land seller an opportunity to recognize the higher value for the property than it would be as existing use.
I love that idea of the obstacle is the way, and it makes me think about our new premier, David Eby, who is talking about a lot of housing initiatives and has a pretty elaborate plan that will likely be coming into play in the near future. And we were talking about it at the office, and one of the guys had said, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities that come out of these initiatives, even though a lot of them seem quite restrictive or potentially punitive. So yeah, that's a great point. Now, in thinking about where you want to acquire land geographically, Jordan, where are you monitoring and where are you most excited about right now?
We've really carved out a niche for ourselves in East Vancouver. And that was quite, I would say, intentionally. But originally, we didn't think that it would really come together that way. We always said we love East Vancouver. We love the unique little neighborhoods. We love the creative vibe that it has, and the sort of younger entrepreneurial businesses and the younger, more entrepreneurial people, and like the eclecticism of it all. And so our desire was to do projects in East Vancouver, but we didn't think that we'd be so lucky to have all of our projects taking place in East Vancouver. We thought, it's hard to find good sites that at values that make sense to have an economically viable project and to get into the neighborhoods that you want to be creating housing in. So we thought that we might need to be reaching out into other markets, but we've been lucky in the sense that we started doing projects in East Vancouver. We've had some success doing that. And I think that through that, our brand has become synonymous with East Vancouver. So it's created a bit of a vacuum for new opportunities in East Vancouver. And so now we're just super happy that we have so much brand awareness in East Vancouver, in particular with the brokerage community, so that when a new land deal comes up in East Vancouver, we typically get the first or second call on that. So over the coming years, we're certainly going to stay focused in East Vancouver. There's specific neighborhoods in East Vancouver that we're most excited about, which is certainly like the Commercial Drive area, or Grandview Woodlands, if you want to call it that. Cedar Cottage, Mount Pleasant. These are some of the neighborhoods that we're really excited about. The projects that we develop they're not super small in scale, but they're also not like really large in scale. Our typical project is kind of in the sort of 50 to 100 homes. Often there's a commercial component to the project as well. So yeah, we're trying to stay focused with that and allow that kind of energy to build in East Vancouver. So, our litmus test for when we're looking at a site is it in East Vancouver? Is it a really cool neighborhood that we're really excited about? Does it have kind of a minimum project size? Because if the project size is too small, it makes it really challenging for us to have economies of scale to be able to invest in kind of like a cooler architecture and better interior design and better amenities in the building. So we need to kind of have a minimum scale to it. Let's call it 50 homes, and then we'll build townhomes, 4-story, 6-story condo, purpose-built rental. But because the Broadway plan has also added so much density to the corridor as it relates to East Van, basically between Main Street and Clark Drive, we've been active trying to acquire sites in that plan area that allow for a higher density, and which would be a concrete building form, and in particular the sites that are kind of up to 20 stories. And we're looking at that specifically as a purpose-built rental development concept. And so that typically has about 80% of the homes that are delivered are at current market rents, and then 20% are at 20% below the current citywide average.
In thinking about your multifamily residential buildings, what role do the commercial components have, and how important is the commercial in those projects?
Yeah, it's funny from a purpose-built rental perspective. The commercial space on just kind of call it on an economic model is something that actually kind of works against the valuation of the project in many circumstances. Just from financing mixed use, it's not as straightforward as financing 100% rental and call it the values associated with the commercial can, depending on where it is, but can often be, we'll say, worth less than the residential component of the building. But that's just from the economic standpoint. From the community standpoint, which is where we really try to lean in, we love that component of the project, and it's something that we pay so much attention to, because if you just think about, you're walking, let's use the Broadway plan as an example. You're walking past a 20-story building. You're not walking down the street looking up. You're walking down the street looking beside you and what's directly in front of you. What's at your eye height, which for me is probably only about 5 feet. For Adam, maybe it's a little higher than that.
Yeah, I was saying you're not too far off, Jordan. I think when I bumped into you on the street, I think I was looking up to you. So don't.
Yeah. So So that's so important to us because it's like, okay, well, that's going to be what people see. That's what the neighbors are going to see on a daily basis. So just what does the facade of that building look like? But then what does the animation of it look like? And then how do the actual businesses become part of that? I'm going to use the term, but become part of that urban fabric. And how do they act as a true amenity to the neighborhood that they're being placed in? So for us, we're always going like, how can we make these commercial spaces in our project, although they're being delivered for rent or for sale, and we can't choose exactly what businesses go to move into these spaces. We try to influence the businesses that want to occupy these spaces through our marketing and through our outreach. But we're really cognizant about going like, these commercial tenants and these businesses are defining the public realm in this neighborhood and truly becoming an amenity to not only the neighborhood, but the building itself. So even if you're looking at say a 20-story building and you've got ground floor commercial, it's a very, call it from a financial aspect, like a very kind of insignificant component of the revenue of the building. There's a lot of attention paid to it. I would say disproportionately higher attention paid to it than the makeup of it in the entire project itself, just because of how important it is to the urban fabric of that neighborhood.
Jordan, you guys are carving out, and you already have carved out and continue to carve out a great name for fabric in the East Vancouver market there with your unique designs and all that. Do you ever see fabric expanding maybe outside of the greater Vancouver area, maybe into like a Fraser Valley market or maybe an island market or even a BC interior market? We certainly talk about those kinds of things around the office, and it can be, we can have some heated debates about that and what meets the brand of fabric. And we often look at a site that might be in Abbotsford or something like that, and it goes, wow, you could make some good money doing this. And then the term that we always like to use is, well, you could probably make good money making cat food too. So we're really cognizant of what is an on-brand project for fabric. And before we would move into a market like Nanaimo or Chilliwack or Surrey for that matter, I think that we would be more likely, not that we're looking at this now and not that it's in our, that we have this as a goal in our 5-year business plan or anything like that, because we don't. But if I'm just kind of speaking candidly, we would probably look to markets that were really true analogs to East Vancouver. So like Toronto and Leslieville, or, parts of, and again, not to say that we would go cross border, because that would be, that's something that we haven't even discussed internally. But like if the parts of Los Angeles that have that kind of real kind of juxtaposition between this like grittiness, but this like beautiful architecture down in LA, or down in like Austin. And so I would say that there's other markets that have analogs to East Vancouver and what we do, which is build these kind of cool, creative projects in these cool, creative neighborhoods that attract cool, creative people, and just allows us to be really passionate about our projects. We find that whenever it comes down to just going, okay, we could make money doing this, the money is important because your project needs to be economically viable so that our business can be here today and it can be here tomorrow. If you do a project that you're really passionate about but doesn't make any money, well, you can go bankrupt doing that, and you might not survive as a business, and then a lot of people lose jobs. So that's the money is important. It is the project first and the neighborhood first that we're passionate about, and that we're going to wake up every morning excited about what we do, and we can lean into the minutia and the granular details of the project on a daily basis because we're excited about it. So I guess the long-winded answer to your question is, would we look at another market in the future? It's possible, but it would need to be on brand for fabric, which is like that East Vancouver, cool, creative, younger vibe. So I got a suggestion for you then. Here's where I see the next fabric outside of Vancouver. Picture Brewery Row in Port Moody, and you got a fabric boutique build right between the breweries. You could.
Yeah,
that's a fabric brand right there.
Is that it?
Adam will buy it.
Corey's proving why he's getting one call a year.
Yeah,
here.
No. I didn't even get a call this past year.
Yeah. Then you're proving that.
Exactly.
Are you selling me on a site right now? Do you have
No, I honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, Jordan, is I got an email from Byron Chard about, I can't remember what we were talking about, but then he made reference to their new building on West Broadway. He's like, oh, did you get an invite to our event? And I'm like, I don't get phone calls anymore. I don't get invites anymore. I'm just a withered old man sitting there at Signs Papers at this point, but I don't even get listings. I don't know what's going on. But I see a fabric, beautiful development with great animated retail right next to like Yellow Dog Brewery in Port Moody there. So there's my suggestion if it ever comes available.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I'm standing by waiting for that phone call.
It's fair to say after that, Jordan won't call me this year either.
No, you know what though, and just to that point, that little neighborhood in Port Moody has a bit of interest, and then two other neighborhoods in Vancouver that have been of interest to us are Lower Lonsdale and then Burnaby Heights. So like just kind of along East Hastings there in Burnaby. So
Adam's
there
looking
are
at me.
Analog neighborhoods.
Adam's
Those are
looking at
two
me.
fantastic neighborhoods for sure.
Adam's looking at me. I'm not as dumb as I look, do I now? See, I'm like inside the fabric boardroom. You just don't know it.
Maybe as a final question, Jordan, before we get to the six pack, thinking about just what you're working on a lot right now, and it's actually kind of overwhelming when you think about it. You guys have a lot on the go. Is there one project or one site that you're particularly excited about right now that you want to talk about?
Yeah, we have acquired a fairly significant site right near Trout Lake. It's about 150 meters east of John Hendry Park, which is where Trout Lake is. And so the site basically fronts onto Grandview Greenway, which is a great not little bike lane. It's a huge bike lane that basically connects downtown Vancouver to New Westminster. But it is 650 meters from the Renfrew SkyTrain station. It's super close to Trout Lake. You're right on a bike lane that connects you over to Commercial Drive and just a couple minutes by a bike. And so we're going to be building a townhouse project there. We're in the process of building out the presentation center, which is going to be on Commercial Drive. We haven't yet launched this project. This is still preliminary. The presentation center is still under construction. If you go on our website, you'll see that we mention the project, but we haven't started advertising for it or anything. There is the ability to register on the website, but like I said, we haven't actually launched it yet. But it's going to have garden one beds. It's going to have 2 and 3 bedroom townhomes that have rooftop decks with a great common courtyard, and it's going to be a ground oriented project. So Assembly was a project that we did in Strathcona, which is a great project where the townhomes actually sit on top of the commercial space. This is more of a ground oriented project where you can access your garden flat and some of your townhomes basically right off of the street front, or you just walk up a few stairs into the common courtyard and then your townhome is right there. So it's going to be a great project that is going to really cater itself to families that want to have a 2 or 3 bedroom home with a lot of outdoor space at an achievable price point.
Jordan, before we let all of our guests go, we have a 6-pack of lighthearted questions so we can get to know you a little bit more outside of the office here. Do you have just a few more minutes for us?
Yes. One thing though, did I mention the name of the project? I don't think I mentioned the name of the project, which would be a miss.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's called The Cut.
The Cut, yeah.
And I would encourage listeners to go to Fabric's website and take a look at this project because it is extremely well located. I would say it's kind of a unique piece of land, Jordan. Would you say that? Because it's kind of like an L shape versus a traditional rectangle or square that you would see. So I think it's going to yield some really, really amazing type
It's
development.
also
all
missing
done.
middle product,
Oh,
which is what we need, right?
It ticks on so many boxes. So I would encourage all the listeners that if you haven't yet heard of Fabric or aware of their projects, to go check them out, because Jordan, you guys are doing great work, and that I think that cut project is going to be tremendous.
Yeah, appreciate it. And so it's the website for the project itself is thecutbeatband.com.
Fantastic. So Six Pack, can you stick around for that?
You bet.
The Six Pack is powered by our great friends over at Red Point Law.
Oh, the guys at Red Point Law are fantastic, Cory.
For all your legal needs when it comes to commercial real estate, visit them at redpointlaw.ca. Okay, Jordan, first question up, and I know you're a busy guy. If you do find the time, where are you going for vacation?
I think I know the answer to this one, but I'll
all right.
a prediction though.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a family house down in Tulum, Mexico. We've had that for probably 12 years. So we typically go there, although Tulum has changed a lot since my family bought that place. So it's changed a lot. But so we typically do get down there once or twice a year, which we love. But really been getting into Mexico City. And then was able to take a trip to Greece this summer, which I absolutely loved. So we're going to be going back to Greece this next summer. So that's a couple for you. But I hadn't really done the European thing properly before, and went to Greece and absolutely loved it. So
Nice.
So that might be finding its way into our yearly repertoire more often.
Mexico City, I find, is a great one as well. Just because everyone I talk to that actually goes there, we went there a couple of years ago and had a great time. But there's just so much to do, and it's such a vibrant city as well. So that's a great recommendation. Number 2, what are you currently binge watching on Netflix, or is there a movie recommendation?
You know, I not to say that I haven't binge watched movies and shows in the past, but I haven't been doing it over the past couple of years. I've been doing more binge reading. So I'll have to go to that. So I'm just finishing up Shoe Dog, hence my reference earlier. And then Shantaram as well, which is actually coming out with a movie on Apple, from what I understand. I didn't know that till I started reading it. So yeah, Shantaram and Shoe Dog.
Yeah, Shoe Dog's good book. Good book. Now, when we had you on episode 14, and again, as part of my research, I had to go back and make sure I had all this stuff. You kicked off a trend, and you probably don't realize the trend you kicked off. But when we asked you last time who your favorite band was, you said something that I'm already a Jordan MacDonald fan. When he told me this, I had to go download it. I had the best Peloton session the next morning. Do you remember what your favorite band or song was last time we had you on?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
So we had Roddy Ricch, which is like a gangster type rapper. And the trend you kicked off is a lot of our guests who were successful in some facet of the commercial real estate world all listen to gangster rap.
Or hip hop, yeah.
Or hip hop. And that was a trend that you started. It was followed by other people. And we started to see a consistency there. But that Roddy Ricch song, I had the best Peloton session the next morning that probably led to me breaking the Peloton at some point. So we're going to give you a chance to update favorite band or song. What's Jordan MacDonald listening to in 2022?
Oh boy. Well, I am going to. So I still listen to that song. Still love it. Yeah, Project Dreams by Roddy Ricch. Great song. But I'm gonna go in a completely different direction, because I was in Greece, and in particular Mykonos this summer, and was listening to some really good house music. There's a group called Stavros, and there's a song called The Finishing, and it's just like a super chill, mellow song. I was listening to this DJ when the sun was going down, and it was just super calm and mellow, and it's just like they basically, it's a DJ, but they play instruments at the same time. And so it's just, if you're just trying to get some reading done or just hammer through some work, this is like a really mellow song. So it's probably the exact opposite, but I love the juxtaposition of things. So
I can see Cory
probably
on his Spotify right now. He's just he'll take a Jordan MacDonald recommendation. You changed his life with that Roddy Rich.
Oh yeah.
He put spinners on his Jeep here. So it's no, I'm just kidding. But next is you're on death row. What's going to be your last meal?
On death row and my last meal. I'm going to have to, what? On death row last meal. I'd probably go with, like a spaghetti bolognese. I would just, and I would eat a lot of it.
That's a good one. Is anyone in particular you're ordering that spaghetti from spaghetti bolognese?
I would just be the spaghetti bolognese that my wife makes.
Oh, nice. Safe answer. I'm on a kick. I'm on a kick right now where I'm ordering the spaghetti bolognese with baked cheese from Boston Pizza on a pretty regular basis.
That's Jordan's calories for the week.
All right, Jordan. So you're sitting in Mykonos. You've had a couple drinks. The sun's going down. Someone gives you a karaoke mic. What song are you singing?
I'm
singing, rapping. What song are you singing or rapping?
I'm definitely rapping. That would be Regulators by Warren G.
Nice.
Oh, good one.
And a final question for you. Something that you've bought for under $1,500 lately that's had a positive impact on your life.
And you can push that up to 25 if you have to because of inflation. So you can take your pick.
Well, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term chuggy, but one of my friends in my office started telling me that I was chuggy, and I said, "What is that?" And they said, "It's when you're an older person and you're a little bit like out of touch with what's cool." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So then they're like, "Yeah, for example, your skinny jeans." And so I was like, "Oh," and they're like, "Yeah, no, skinny jeans are out." And so I was like, "Okay." So I started feeling pretty insecure about my skinny jeans. So I actually went to the Gap and I bought a pair of straight leg jeans for $50. So I'd say those jeans have made me look not so chuggy and maybe change my life a little bit.
The respect level you now have around the office is priceless.
Oh yeah. No, Heather's calling me chuggy. Well, probably still as much, and maybe more now that I got them. But anyways, a pair of straight leg jeans to try to stay current.
I never knew how to describe myself, and now I have a word. Chuggy is how I describe myself now.
So Jordan, how can people find out more about Fabric and, of course, what you're up to?
Yeah, I follow our Instagram. That's a really good way to stay up to speed with what we're doing. We're always posting to that, so that's kind of real time stuff about our projects that are under construction and new acquisitions and people and initiatives and all sorts of stuff. So you can follow us on Instagram. It's Life at Fabric. You can also check us out on our website, which is basically fabricliving.ca. Or you can follow me on my Instagram as well. I have a personal Instagram. I don't post as much, but it's just Jordan Ing Mac. So Jordan INGMAC. And I post about some of the stuff that we're doing as well. So those are a few good ways to stay up to speed.
Amazing, Jordan. Well, thank you so much once again for joining us. We know you're a busy guy. Another amazing episode, and it's great to hear that you guys are doing so well and shedding some light on the challenges that your industry has, currently dealing with.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks again for having me, guys. And although we're dealing with some challenges now, it always feels like whenever we're going through something, whether it was 2008, 2009, or whether it was COVID or even 2018, 2019, when the market started to slow down, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. It always seems worse than it is when you're right in the thick of it. And things are challenging now, and we need to come up with mechanisms to keep moving the ball forward with new acquisitions and continuing to create new housing. But things are going to get better. It's not going to be like this forever.
Yep, I agree with you. Well, Jordan, thanks so much once again for your time today. We really appreciate it, and we wish you the best of luck.
Okay, take care, guys.
Thanks, Jordan. Take care. There you have it, folks. Our interview with Jordan MacDonald, CEO, founder, Fabric. Incredible episode.
I
Incredible.
love that you're gonna have everyone's got I've got all my Spotify playlists. You're gonna have one that just is called Jordan MacDonald recommendations.
Yeah.
I could see you scrolling when he said that, and dare I say that Jordan he made you a hip hop head.
Oh,
And
I'll be honest.
you were
with
already a sneakerhead.
Oh, yeah, that sneakerhead for sure. I hadn't heard of Roddy Ricch before,
Right.
and he came on episode 14, and I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. So I went and I looked it up, and I can't remember if I was driving. This is a true story. I remember I was driving somewhere, and I guess your volume's a little too loud.
Yeah.
And the song comes on, and it's got a really good beat. I'm kind of like into it.
Yeah.
And I look over, and I can't imagine these 20-year-olds that were parked next to me. I got rap music blaring right in my car.
Yeah.
I went home the next day, and I had the Peloton session of a lifetime listening to that song.
You put the car on deep dish. Yeah. And this is the thing. I think the correlation, if I had to guess, is that rap music is incredibly motivational.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
I mean, there's a reason every gym. It's funny. We go to F45, and I know guys on your team own an F45 studio in Victoria, but the playlists are basically all 90s rap in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah.
And remixes of 90s rap. Dare we say that we had kind of the best era growing up with 90s and early 2000s. Yeah, but it's all super motivational. It's like the best gym music. It's awesome if you're in business and you want to motivate yourself. Yeah, it makes sense.
Well, if you go on the Peloton, they have a great class called Bad Boy Entertainment, which it's like the old Puff Daddy, Notorious B.I.G. Maze songs. Oh, it's great. We had an amazing era of music.
Oh yeah, fantastic. All right, Cory. Well, what do we got before we cut for the day? If somebody's looking to get in touch about commercial real estate, and I'm going to say across the province, because really you guys are everywhere now.
Yeah.
What's going on? How can people get in touch?
They can reach out to our head office in Vancouver anytime, 604-428-5255. Let us know where they're looking to go, and we'll put you in touch with the best agent throughout the province for your asset. They can visit our website, williamwright.ca, or they can send me an email at cory@williamwright.ca. Always happy to talk real estate and hear your thoughts all about the show.
Fantastic. Well, we've got some great episodes coming up in the near future. And thanks for listening, guys. And we'll be back next week.
Enjoy, guys. Thanks so much.
Subscribe today.